Hello, how are you? Thanks for coming by, hanging out with me a little bit. I've got a nice little mug of coffee right here, and I have a nice book that I think is so beautiful. It's called The Whale Song. Look at that picture. The art in this, the pictures are so beautiful. And the story is really beautiful too. It's called The Whale Song by Dyan, Sheldon. Paintings, not illustrations, paintings, they say. Paintings by Gary Blythe. Look at that beautiful girl. Oh my goodness. And then look at the end papers. Oh my gosh, it's hard to tell if it's the sky or looking into the ocean with the sky reflected. Whichever it is, I love it. The Whale Song. Look at this huge picture. Okay, I'm gonna let you enjoy that just for a second. For a few seconds. Gorgeous. Lily's grandmother told her a story. I almost want to make here, I'll just do it. My voice will be kind of grandmotherly, even though I am one. Once upon a time, she said, the ocean was filled with whales. They were as big as the hills. They were as peaceful as the moon. They were the most wondrous creatures you could ever imagine. Ouch. And again, this is such a big book, I'm hitting myself in the face. It's worth it. Okay. So Lily climbs up on Grandma's lap to ask her more about it. Look at her beautiful face. Lily climbed upon her grandmother's lap, and she goes on. I used to sit at the end of the pier and listen for whales, said Lily's grandmother. Sometimes I'd sit there all day and all night. Then suddenly I'd see them coming. I'd see them coming toward me from miles and miles away. They moved through the water as if they were dancing. She lives right by the ocean. You can barely see the ocean out there. She might still live in the same house she did then. But why did they swim to you, Grandma? Asked Lily. How did they know you were there? Lily's grandmother smiled. Oh, you had to bring them something special? A perfect shell? Or a beautiful stone? And if they liked you, the whales would take your gift and give you something in return. So here's a picture of the gift that she left out there. Beautiful, beautiful shell. She left it out for the whales. What would they give you, Grandma? Asked Lily. What did you get from the whales? Lily's grandmother sighed. Once or twice, she whispered. Once or twice. I heard them sing. They gave her a song. Lily's great-uncle Frederick stomped into the room. That's nothing but a silly old tale, he snapped. Whales were important for their meat and for their bones and for their blubber. If you have to tell Lily about whales, then tell her something useful. Don't fill her head with nonsense. Singing whales, indeed. Wow. What a buzzkill. So there's cranky uncle. There's Grandma, his mother, like, what? And there's Lily. What the? Oh my goodness. He feels strongly about whales and their blubber and stuff. There were whales here millions of years before. There were even ships or cities or even cave dwellers, continued Lily's grandmother, very brave. People used to say they're magical. People used to eat them and boil them down for oil, grumbled Lily's great uncle Frederick, and he stomped back out of the room. Oh my goodness, and all we see is his leg bounding out of the room, but we get to see the backs of the beautiful heads of Lily and her grandmother. And I love that Lily's grandmother just kept talking, and the cat's like, whoa, oh, wow. Wow. Okay, Uncle Frederick. So, Lily dreamt about whales. I'm sure this. Lily dreamt about whales. In her dreams, she saw them as large as mountains and bluer than the sky. In her dreams, she heard them singing, their voices like the wind. In her dreams, they leapt from the water. Can we have your hand be the whales leaping from the water? And they called her name, Lily. Let's do that. Lily, Lily, Lily. This was her dream. You can see her sweet face there, and that's her dream, where they're singing to her and calling her by name. What a nice dream. In the morning, Lily went down to the ocean, to the place where no one fished or swam or sailed. She walked to the end of the old pier. The water was empty and still. She took a yellow flower out of her pocket and dropped it into the water. "This is for you," she called into the air, hoping that it would reach them. There she is at the end of the pier. And if you look really close, you can see a little dot that is their flower. These illustrations, these paintings are beautiful. "This is for you," she called. Do you want to say that? This is for you. Lily sat at the end of the pier and waited. She waited all morning and all afternoon. Then, as dusk began to fall, Uncle Frederick came down the hill after her. "Enough of this foolishness," he said. "Come on home. You cannot be dreaming your life away." Oh, Uncle Frederick. Oh, my goodness. Just because you're unhappy, do you need to make everyone around you unhappy? Uncle! That night, Lily awoke suddenly. The room was bright with moonlight. She sat up and listened. The house was quiet. Lily climbed out of bed and went to the window. She could hear something way in the distance, on the far side of the hill. There she is. She could hear something. That moonlight was so bright. She raced outside and down to the shore. Her heart was pounding as she reached the sea. There, enormous in the ocean, were the whales. They leapt and jumped and spun across the moon. Their singing filled the night. Lily saw her flower dancing in the spray. What a wonderful experience. And it's hard to see in this book, but there's her flower dancing in the sea. They were singing to her. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Suddenly, Lily felt the breeze rustle her nightgown and the cold nip at her toes. She shivered and rubbed her eyes. Then it seemed the ocean was still again, and the night dark and silent. Lily thought she must have been dreaming. She stood up and turned toward home. Then, from far, far away, on the breath of the wind, she heard, "Lily, Lily." The whales were calling her name. Nope. There's not even any more pages. The end papers. This is one of my favorite books ever. It's so mysterious and beautiful. Thanks for enjoying it with me. Lily, Lily. I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. I hope you have wonderful dreams. Maybe we'll dream of whales. And our wonderful grandmother. Thanks for being here.